Hello, everyone. Welcome to The Future of Laws Today, the podcast bringing you straight talk on law, legal tech, and where the profession is going. I'm your host, Ceschino, and we're cutting through the hype to talk about what's changing in this field, and what still needs to. Today's guest is Cecilia Wang, Deputy General Counsel at Emerald X, the largest B2B events company in the US, and parent organization of brands including Advertising Week and Bulletin. At Emerald, Cecilia leads the legal department's commercial, product, compliance, and litigation functions, drawing on her deep background in tech and advertising law. She's also the founder of TalkingTree.app, a 501c3 nonprofit on a mission to make legal support more accessible for first-time founders and small business owners. Through practical legal tools, education, and expert guidance, TalkingTree empowers entrepreneurs who might otherwise lack essential legal resources. With this unique blend of experience in high-stakes corporate practice and grassroots legal empowerment, Cecilia is here to help us explore how legal teams can navigate change, support business growth, and bridge the gap between legal safeguards and technological innovation. So, Cecilia, great to have you on the podcast. Really excited to talk with you today. As an introduction, can you please tell us a bit about your journey in law and legal tech?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for having me. So my name is Cecilia. When I was small, I realized that I had a penchant for rules and regulations. So that led me to go to law school. And while I was in law school, I, got to sort of combine my other great loves in life along with the love for rules and regulations, one of which was technology and one of which was consumer protection, accessibility. I was an econ major. My entire thesis was on efficient resource allocation. And so combining those three, I ultimately ended up becoming an antitrust attorney. And, part of me wanted to join the DOJ to continue making more and more resources accessible, lowering barriers to entry, and just helping the little guys, the small businesses, sort of get up and get running.
Nice. And so we'll get a little bit more into this later, but how did you go from law, and I'm hearing some hints of access to justice there, right? How did you go from law and this interest in access to justice to legal technology?
Yeah. So I'm a giant nerd. And so when I was a kid, I had a choice between learning how to do various sports, which I was not so good at, and teaching myself to program, which I will say I was better at. Talent is debatable. But during that time, actually, I ended up meeting a bunch of people who did have the talent in college. I went to UCLA, and there I made some of the best friends that I have even today. And those folks, like me, were hobbyist programmers. They eventually became real programmers at places like NASA, Microsoft, Google, Facebook. And one thing we all really had in common was that for us, tech was about having it, building it, having it, making it accessible, making it useful. And so in my very convoluted legal career that eventually ended up with me being at Emerald X, my current company, I found myself for the first time building my own department and realizing, like everybody else, that resources were scarce, headcount is scarce, money is even more scarce. And so I started buying or trying to buy legal tech. This was back in late 23, early 24.
Okay.
And what I discovered back then was that legal tech fell in two categories. One was there was a type of product out there, while it looks superficially affordable, it wasn't quite built the way that lawyers think. And it really wasn't quite built the way that businesses were structured. And so, unfortunately, those tools were really not up for consideration. The remaining tools at the time were quite expensive. Now, granted, they were very good technology. Like, there was Harvey, there was Legora, there was Hebbia, there was some great technology out there. But the issue is for, a mid-sized pubco like my company, it's a lot to be asking for, 100,000 right off the bat, right? It's another headcount for us. And so the idea is, well, what would happen if similar technology, maybe not as, nuanced or detailed or, as, large of a company, what if similar technology was made accessible to everyone. That includes like the mom and pop pizza shop down the street from you, where I'm sure they have suppliers. Okay. I'm sure they would love someone to look at their contract that wasn't your local big law attorney somewhere. But yeah, so I called up my old buddies at these various companies and I'm like, look, guys, is there any way that we can build something that is usable and accessible to everyone? And
Mm.
so that's how we got started. That's how we built TalkingTree.app. It is a 501c3 nonprofit. And our rule, and this is all through team agreement, is that no one takes pay until we have hit a significant number of impact. Now, the number of individuals we have to impact is between the high six figures and the low seven figures.
Yeah.
So long road until then, build onwards and try to spread the message.
Yeah, I love that. That's a fantastic mission. So like I said, I was hinting at what's to come, but there really is this access to justice ethos behind what you're building.
Yeah, we definitely have probably a unconventional approach to legal tech. That is not to say the conventional approach is wrong. Actually, to the contrary, it's conventional for a reason, right? Folks work very hard on their technology and they want to try to make some money out of it. For us, we're actually not here to make things difficult for anyone. What we're trying to do is for the folks who cannot afford it, who would rather, I guess, wing it, if you will, or copy their neighbor's terms and conditions, even though one of them sells brick and mortar stuff and the other one is a SaaS program, and then just copy paste their names into it. We're trying to keep folks from doing things like that.
Yeah, fantastic. So taking a step back and looking at the bigger picture in legal tech, when we're rethinking what legal technology is and can be and what it's for, what has legal tech historically been? What is it today? And what else could it be? And to the point you were making, how do we make sure it's actually working for the legal profession?
Yeah, absolutely. Excellent questions. So I'll start with the first one, but with what it used to be and what it is today. Historically, legal tech has been sort of a jumpstart for the industry. Many, many years ago, it used to be pen and paper only. Most people received their communications by post. And then you had typewriters and dictaphones. And all of a sudden, secretaries were handling things that attorneys would have to write by hand. Partners would record something in the dictaphone, pass it over to their secretary, and now someone else can help with the efficiency. Then came the Word document, the Internet Explorer, Thomson Reuters, LexisNexis. So I think AI is simply the next step in that process, that by taking the increasing efficiency approach, we're almost taking an integral version of that and saying, what happens if we consolidate all the technology we currently have and we make it accessible through plain language and at the tip of your finger? And
Yeah.
so that's what it is today, right? AI is essentially the great aggregator. It's not here to replace lawyers. It's not here to, make our lives more competitive. I always joke that I've spent a year and a half building legal tech to do my job, and the only result of that is I somehow have more work.
Yeah, it's a fantastic point. And the great aggregator, I think one of the biggest effects we're seeing of AI is that it's not necessarily that it's raising the ceiling for everybody. For some people, it probably is. For some people are really good at orchestrating a team of virtual assistants. But what it is doing, I think what we've already seen, is that for many people is raising the floor. So
Correct.
what is the minimum of what good looks like and what one person is capable of doing? I think to your point, the transformation is not, it's going to replace all these white collar professionals. And I've been saying this for years now. AI is about augmenting the work of
Right.
skilled, intelligent people. And that really should be the goal.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. And I also just want to supplement that, like, many people are concerned about their headcount. For what
Hmm.
it's worth, since I've been building AI, I've gotten more headcount. Because as you prove that efficiency to your management, to your CEO, to your CFO, you gain that business trust that we in-house counsels are always seeking. It is that lucrative golden apple the world was trying to reach for. And
Yeah.
so it's that substitute of what happens when you have no resources, when you have no headcount. Someone or something is better than nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a fantastic point, that when you give your team good tools to work with, you prove that they are capable, they can handle a high volume of work at the level of quality they need.
Mhm.
Then that's how you get more work.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's so ideally, if business leaders are looking at this, you're trying to make a case for more headcount. You make that case when you show you're making good use of the headcount you already have.
That's right.
And another point there is, I was actually talking with someone else about this just the other day. I think we're probably going to see a shifting mindset, or maybe we're already seeing it, where there's this question, not just for lawyers, but certainly in the legal profession: are you
Mhm.
delivering the duty of care, the standard of service you need to, if you're not investing in the best tools available? If you're doing everything manually, when there are
Mhm.
tools that can automate a lot of the more repetitive menial tasks, so that
Mhm.
you can focus on the bigger picture, the strategy, the critical analysis, the client care, that kind of thing. If you're still manually doing automatable document review tasks,
Yeah.
is that really what you should be doing as a lawyer or as a white collar professional in general? So
Yeah.
it's a great point. It's liberating in a way, but to your point, it's also potentially empowering, because
Yeah.
you're proving that impact that we all want people to recognize. Like, hey, I have all this knowledge, I have all these skills. Why don't you see what I'm doing? And to be fair, maybe business leaders have not recognized that sufficiently in the past. But if you have this way of showing that your team is maximizing its output, why wouldn't you take it?
I think that's exactly right. And the way we think about it here is let's focus less on, for us, we don't focus on profit at all as a nonprofit, but let's focus less on what we can get out of the client and focus
Mm-hmm.
more on how do we prove value to the entire ecosystem. And many a times, the hiccup there with proving value is people don't know what they can get out of it. And so when you are able to catch them with that wow factor, a little bit goes a long way. I'll give an example. The way I built Talking Tree is that it has the capability of processing a large amount of information, sorting through all of it, and then creating things like timelines, memos, pre-litigation letters with citations. So all of that comes down to one thing. If we end up in a pre-dispute, what do? I upload all the relevant emails and all of the memos from the various departments, and I click a button. That's it. I click the draft me a litigation letter button, and it'll say, all right, what's relevant? And then I just name the things that are relevant. It gives me a perfectly good first draft. Sometimes I just directly share that with everybody. Has it saved me a lot of time? Absolutely. Has it also augmented the expectation of my company? Also true. I no longer get a week and a half to write letters anymore.
Yeah. People can adapt to pretty much anything. You give them faster turnaround times, they will expect faster turnaround times and everything.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely had one team that expected a turnaround of like one day, which to be fair, it was a short letter, so it was actually one day. But, without the technology, it would not be one day in any situation.
Yeah, definitely a mixed blessing. But you touch on something else, which is that a lot of people right now don't realize what they can potentially do with
Mhm.
legal tech tools that work well. And I think that goes back to the headcount issue. Right now, people are worried about maintaining headcount or getting more headcount. But really, if you're a business leader and
Mhm.
you're thinking, oh, now that we have AI, we can get rid of the people on our team and do everything with AI, that's a really limited mindset. If
Yeah.
you're thinking about how to get the most out of your organization, you should not just be looking at automating what you can do today. Like, yes, that's great. You can make your organization more efficient, cut some costs on the worker hours it takes to do what you do
Mhm.
today. But don't you want to grow? Because the next step should be not how many people can we get rid of. It should be, great, if my current team can do the same work in half the time or one fifth of the time, how many more things can we do that we just didn't have time to do before? That's the real transformation.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. So many times in in-house communities, we talk about how there's too many things. Everyone wears way too many hats. We're
Hmm.
a little bit like the Santa elf with like 50 hats stacked on top of each other. And it's like, wouldn't it be nice if you got to take off some of those hats and put it on a machine? Right. So that's essentially what we're doing. It's not that we want less folks working on this. It's that we want good quality work consistently done at a
Yeah.
faster pace. That's all.
Exactly. I like that analogy that you're just taking off some of the many hats you're wearing, putting them on your robot assistant so that you can spend more time on the more meaningful work, more value add, whichever it is. Yeah, the things that they're really paying you to do, that your employer is paying you to do.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Also, one of the other things that works really well for in-house counsel is that because we wear so many hats, there's a lot of interruptions during the day, right?
Mm,
You could
yeah.
be working on, your product counseling project, and all of a sudden you get a message, do we have an NDA with, I don't know, Spindrift?
Yeah.
And you could be like, I don't know. Do I stop my paralegal who's in the middle of a contract review to go look for the NDA? Or do I say, here's a login for the AI bot? They
Mhm.
have access to the entire repository. If you're looking for something, ask the bot.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a fantastic example. I remember back when I was practicing law, my favorite part of the day was actually right around 7 p.m. because I knew I was going to be working late, but the calls would finally stop coming in, all the calls and emails and people peeking their head in the office and asking, oh, can you send me this document again for the fifth time?
Yes.
Or where is this? Or what did we say about this again? And it's
Yes.
like, finally, I can just get some work done.
Yeah.
Yeah, so to your point, the more you can automate, the more you can reliably automate, the more you can avoid those interruptions and really just give yourself that quality focus time.
Exactly. Exactly. And the best part is we're all global companies these days, right? So people are in different time zones. And anyone who's ever tried to organize a global call knows that if you have more than 5 people, it's going to be very ugly for somebody on the call.
Yeah.
But with AI, you don't have that problem anymore. If my team in
Mm.
Europe needs to see something and I'm here on the California coast and I haven't woken up yet,
Yeah.
ask the AI bot. It will pull it for you. It will give you the exact language you're looking for. What was a renewal again? What was an indemnification again? It will give you the exact language. So that way, it frees me up that when I wake up, they're like, okay, I need you to handle the escalation. I can do that now.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a fantastic way to frame it. And I feel like it's worth repeating that, yeah, that's a value add for adding AI to your team. You're getting rid of all that time syncing back and forth where people are just chasing down the same files,
Yes.
supplying the same answer to somebody for the 18th time in a row. It's really just not adding value to the organization. It's busy work, it's repetitive, it gets on people's nerves. So,
Yes.
yes, find those things. And this is something I certainly have talked and written about as a legal tech marketer. Find those things. Where are the bottlenecks? Where are the gaps in communication? Where are
Yes.
things broken? Find one of those use cases where something is broken today, you know it's broken. Fix that process, and there's a tool that helps you fix it. That's fantastic. And then go from there. You don't need to adopt the biggest tool, the biggest AI platform, but just find something that helps fix a problem you know you have today and build from there.
Yeah, I think that's right. Anything to make the already lack of work-life balance a little bit maybe less lacking in work-life balance.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So great. Next question. As
Mhm.
builders, how do we think about the features that we create? How do they relate to end users' day-to-day jobs? And how, as the people providing those features, how do they help users do those jobs better?
Yeah, I think that's an excellent question. And I will say that I might be a little bit biased because I am the end user as well as the builder. And so one of the things I think about is what am I building this feature for? And it's less about what is the abstract conceptual idea, like, for example, oh, lawyers negotiate contracts. Well, first they look at the contract, then they redline the contract, and then they talk to the other side about the contract, and then they finalize and sign the contract. So that's a very high level esoteric understanding of how the process works. But as the end user, you're not thinking about that. What you're thinking is, oh boy, another contract. Have we done this before? Which industry is this? What's our leverage? What's their leverage? Am I going to have to hop on the phone with them again? I really don't want to hop on the phone with them again. And so I think as builders, one of the things we really need to think about is don't just go ask for the pain point. Try emulating the activity yourself once. Just do
Hmm.
it. It could be a rough draft with Acme, like the fake company, but just do it once and you'll see for yourself what exactly are the real pain points and then try to build and address that. Also, please keep in mind what are the opportunity costs of deploying your feature. So I'll give an example. Why does everybody use OpenAI's ChatGPT? It's free. It's everywhere. And
Yeah.
there's such a low barrier to entry. You just type in chatgpt.com and ask a question, and that's it. There's no downloading, uploading, signing in, re signing in. I think clicking through 4 or 5 different menus to get to the right place, none of that's a thing.
Yeah.
So UX is 100% part of the equation. Apple is the company it is today because it has such an easy to use UI on their phone.
Yeah.
Other makers, they had to learn that lesson eventually.
Hmm. That's a great point. That looking at even just something as relatively simple as how easy or not easy are you making it for users to access whatever your tool is or your platform is. For a while, there was this idea that all B2B software had to be cloud-based, holistic, end-to-end platforms. And sometimes that's what people are looking for. They want all of their workflows, all their processes, all their documents, whatever the task is, they want it all in one place. But plenty of people have had experiences, not just in legal tech, but yes, in legal tech, where this one platform that promises everything doesn't actually do everything very well. Maybe it just does that one thing well that it started with. And what you actually want is to find other things that plug into other places, plug into Word, plug into Outlook, Slack, wherever you're working, and they help you do one thing there. So yeah, something I've been looking at certainly has been not just individual vendors and individual products, but what does the legal tech ecosystem look like? What
Yeah.
does a legal tech stack look like, and what should it look like? And that's something I'm really trying to dig deeper into as I talk to more people.
Yeah, I think that's right. One of the big conversations that I've been hearing in the industry as well is what do you integrate with?
Yeah.
Right now, obviously, there's the front runners that people talk about, Salesforce, HubSpot, whatever the other industries are using that fold very well. And then there's the conversation of e-signature, because there's a lot of options out there for e-signature. API is usually quite expensive to integrate in. If you integrate only a single e-signature as the API, what if the person doesn't have a subscription to that e-signature?
Yeah.
So, oops, that's not useful anymore. The alternative there is build your own. And now, admittedly, that's the approach we took because most small company and mom and pop shops and startups, small businesses, they don't have the funds to be licensing this, licensing that. So we kind of just try to compact everything together. It's like, here's an e-signature solution. It's AES compliant, okay, even in Europe. So it'll get the job done. And I'm not going to count you by envelopes. Because the reality is, once you start paying for envelopes, it gets really expensive for small business and you lose the point of accessibility. For a lot of the other companies, they have to do the math of, do you want to pay for the API and then pass the cost on to someone else? Do you tell them to bring their own? What if they don't have it? Or do you just forgo it altogether?
Yeah. So taking a look at it from the other side, as end users, how do we decide when to buy versus when to build?
Oh, okay. I will first disclaim and say I'm very biased. If you get to a certain price point, if your company is a certain size, I would say build, 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 just because
Okay.
building is quite affordable. And you get to have the features, the exact features that you think you will need. I'll give you an example. One of the things that we have to deal with a lot, where Pubco, we have multiple little brands under us. So it's almost like a Pubco with private equity aspects to it. And we have different contracts for different businesses. So it would be great to take all of our templates and turn them into forms. So they can just mass populate, mass generate. The business can use it. And I don't have to worry about them touching my legal terms. Right? And
Yeah.
then everybody wins. But not every company is going to need that. Most companies may only have one business. They're in SaaS for marketing. That's all they sell. And so in that case, I would recommend to them build the tool that you want to use. Whatever pre-made tool out there, it was built with the idea of suiting probably a different industry. Yeah. Now, that said, if you're the type of business with absolutely no engineering on staff, for example, you are the pizza shop or you are the gelato shop, find something cheap, find something affordable. A lot of the tools out there, even if it's just Claude Pro or GPT Pro, a lot of the shops out there, keep in mind how big your company is will also matter as to what kind of tooling you'll need. Don't bring a bulldozer to crush a walnut, just bring a hammer. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think I've heard that one before, but yeah, I like that. I'll try to keep that in mind. Yeah, so great points. And I love that analogy. Don't try to use a bulldozer to crush a walnut. I will try to keep that in mind. But how do we approach each of those paths effectively? How do you know what your challenge is? And how do you, especially these days when everyone's talking about vibe coding, how do you realistically estimate your own capabilities and your own limitations when it comes to buying versus building?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing I'll say is that an effective tool is built by a team. It could be a team of 2 people, could be a team of 3 people, but an effective tool is built by a team. It's less to do with the individual's technical capabilities and more to do with the sanity check. Otherwise, you might find yourself building into a corner.
Yeah.
I say this because I did. Thankfully, my co-founder pulled me out of that corner. Then the second thing I would say is keep in mind that tech is just a tool, and that when used the right way, AI, like every other technology, can be used for good. I'm a firm believer that AI, when used correctly, will actually create jobs rather than take
Mm,
away jobs. I'll give you an example. Right now, there's a lot of companies out there who would love to build their own in-house AI tech. But they're like, well, engineers are really expensive. And then I don't know if I have the head count. Be flexible with that approach. Meanwhile, you've got these great universities. I'm 3 feet away from Stanford and Berkeley. And there are just armies of CS grads. They're top of their class. They know exactly what they're doing. All of them are trained on AI. And meanwhile, they're just looking for an opportunity. Some of them have reached out to me asking me if I would like free labor.
yes.
No, I'm very flattered. We're mostly built at this point, but I bet there are companies out there who would benefit from having 2 or 3 of these high caliber interns. You can even make their summer by paying them. They're not got
Absolutely.
paid internships. You can make their time and they can make it worth your while. They will build you a machine that is working. I know this is possible because I've been to those hackathons and I have seen those engineers at work. You will be surprised at what they can produce in like 6 hours. Imagine what they can
Mm,
produce in like 2 months.
yeah. Yeah. Fantastic point. You mentioned it's not all about the technical skills. So, digging a
Mhm.
little deeper, what skills and mindsets do we need to develop to use legal tech effectively, to build legal tech effectively, and to adopt it sustainably?
I would say take a holistic and open mind when you're building and adopting legal tech. Here's why. There's a bit of an unspoken juxtaposition in the industry where some folks have made jokes about certain attorneys of certain generations not being able to use technology. And
Mm,
meanwhile, on the flip side, I've seen jokes made about certain attorneys of a certain age not being senior enough to be qualified for a leadership position. If we just discard both of those mentalities and homogenize it together, I think the most comprehensive and useful AI is built by folks who understand both positive perspectives. Bring in the kid who understands both law and technology. Bring in the senior attorney who understands the industry because they have spent 20 years, 25 years in it.
yeah.
Homogenize them together. And what you have is really an untouchable team.
Hmm.
Yeah. Now, I will admit I'm a little biased. I have seen this exact composition work out really well where the senior and the junior attorney tag team together. And I have seen that department go from 2 people to like 10 in 2 years.
Yeah, nice. Well, that's fantastic that you're not just hypothesizing, you're speaking from experience, that this,
Yes.
this does work. As they say, it takes all sorts.
Yes. Make new friends. It will probably be the most useful thing for your career.
Yeah, absolutely. That's fantastic advice. That's actually a good segue into the next part because I think the thing people forget is the more AI can automate
Mhm.
all these technical skills, whether it's software engineering, legal analysis, document review, all that kind of thing, the more important it is and the more opportunity there is for us to do things that computers can't do and AI can't do. And like you
Yeah.
just said, that's connecting with other people.
Correct.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So, on that note, I like to close with a little segment I call Keeping It Human. It can be about anything, it doesn't have to be about AI. What's your fun fact or your anecdote for today?
Oof. Well, I would say that I am a big make new friends kind of person, and I find that nothing breaks the ice better than having a bunch of friends go karaokeing together. Because at a certain hour of the day, you will sing, whether you are good or not. I am not. It doesn't stop me from singing.
Nice.
And once you've broken, it's weird, but once you've broken past that level of awkwardness and you kind of sort of preliminarily judge each other's choice of music, but you're also super loving it by the
Hmm.
end, right? It helps make good friends. It helps you loosen up and just be honest with each other. And when you're honest, real ideas get communicated. One of the things I say is one of our advisors, the first thing he ever told me was this product, what's the difference between it and Claude?
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't think you're going to outrun freeware. And now, after we've had our music moment, he's like, I think I get what you're trying to do now. We should be business partners. So,
Nice.
total 180
Yeah.
there. You never know. Go be ridiculous and sing and eat ice cream and just be the inner child that you had. Yeah.
I like that. It's a different way of giving people some natural vulnerability without making it
Yeah,
too uncomfortable. So I have to ask, do you have a go-to song for karaoke, or do you just see what's playing and roll with it?
I do. It's more like a go-to series of songs,
Okay,
and it is usually some form of musical off Broadway. I'm a big Broadway fan, and
nice.
it used to be Avenue Q, and
Okay.
nowadays is maybe Happy Ending.
Okay. I admit I'm not musical, so I don't know those songs, but I appreciate when people have you have a system for getting to know new people and really
Yeah.
opening up line of communication. So that's fantastic.
Well, I will suggest if you haven't seen maybe Happy Ending, and this is a total plug, definitely worth seeing. It's actually about AI. It's what happens in the future when two AI robots decided to try to pretend to be human.
Oh, nice, nice. Okay, that's very fitting. I'll have to check that out. What was the title again? Just so everyone has it.
Maybe Happy Ending.
Maybe happy ending.
Yeah.
Okay, I will
Um,
keep that in mind.
thank
All right, so Cecilia, this has been fantastic. I do want to give people a chance to get in touch with you. So if people want to learn more about Talking Tree, or they just want to connect and talk more about law, legal tech, how to choose the right tools for them, how to get started building, how can they contact you?
Yeah, absolutely. It's my first name at TalkingTree.app, Cecilia, 2 eyes, at TalkingTree.app.
Fantastic. Well, I've really enjoyed this conversation. Always a pleasure speaking with you, and I really appreciate you taking the time to come on the podcast. So thank you very much. And everyone who listened, thank you. Feel free to be in touch with me or with Cecilia if you want to talk legal tech. And maybe happy ending, right?
Yes, maybe Happy
That's
Ending.
that's everybody's homework. Let's all go see if we can track that down.
Sounds good. All right. Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it. And thank you, everyone, for listening.
All right. Thanks. Take care. I'll catch you all next time.
All right. Bye bye.
That's it for this episode of The Future of Law is Today. Subscribe for more straight talk on law and legal tech. And share it with someone who still thinks Master of Laws when you say LLM. Thanks for listening.